Welcome, welcome. So this is the first XP webinar. I have a few amazing people here with me today. We have Stu from the Funeral Trust, Irina from Tuia Waitākere, and Claire from Xtreme Productivity. Before I make any introductions, I just want to reinforce that this is no script webinar. So it means that we are going to go with the flow, and any questions are it's welcome. There's no wrong question. So please make questions, make interactions, put things in the chat. If you want to introduce yourself, now is the time. And so let's start. So Irina, if you can please introduce yourself and Tuia.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a general manager, business and finance for Tuia Waitākere. Tuia Waitākere might be known to some people as former Sport Waitākere or Sport Waitākere Trust. We are one of regional sport trusts which were formed in New Zealand in like 30 years ago. And we are taking care of West Auckland, as you can understand from our name. And we partnering with Sport New Zealand and Health New Zealand, Te Whatu Ora, basically to help people on West to live their happy, healthy lives. This is
Awesome.
what we do.
Incredible. Thanks for being here today. We also have Stu with us from the Funeral Trust. So Stu, if you can please make an introduction too.
Yeah, thanks, Gus. Thank you for having me here today. I'm an independent management consultant and I'm presently engaged by the Funeral Directors Association of New Zealand to focus on a proposition that is brought to market through funeral homes throughout the country, their membership funeral homes. And that is the Funeral Trust, a service by which Kiwis can pay in advance for their own funeral. And although it might surprise some that you can do that, there's a growing demand for it. And it's a very busy space to work in.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for being here too, Stu. We also have Claire. Claire is Xtreme Productivity. Many of you probably know already Claire because she has been with us for more than 10 years, right, Claire?
Yep, so 10 years, but been working within CRM for 15.
Okay.
Started on the other side. So I started on Irina's side where I was working within the organization, dealing with CRMs that weren't particularly useful and just ended up branching out into making them more useful.
Awesome. Awesome. Perfect. So just to kick off the topic CRM, I think the good starting point is like, how do you realize that you actually need a CRM? I think a lot of people talk about the 3 M's, that is like multiple people, multiple document, multiple versions. So it's really hard to have everybody on the same page. But Stu, if you can start now just saying like, how do you identify that this organization needs a CRM?
Yeah, I think, Gus, in the case of the Funeral Trust, the entity that I'm working with at the moment, CRM is fulfilling a slightly different role than the classic CRM proposition around relationship management, pipeline management. In this case, the flexibility and the breadth of what we see in CRM now has been applied to a slightly different end, and that is still one which oversees the relationships with our customers, but also provides core elements of the business proposition. So it's not an and, or what did you do before it? It is that is our really, it's the manufacturing plant of our core proposition. So I think that's a key outtake, that CRM today, the versatility and the breadth of what it's capable of, addresses more than just what was the focus when CRM started.
Yeah, it's really hard because usually in the beginning, everybody who comes on board comes with a spreadsheet and with a new idea. And then we start with that. Most of the organizations start with that in a business unit. Irina, do you have any different point of view? Like how did it happen to you? Like we need a CRM.
Oh, I still do not think that we needed a CRM, because we needed a proper system. And I honestly avoid calling the system we are creating now a CRM. We call it a hub, or the hub. Sorry, we call it the hub. And this is, yeah, the HUB, like all capitals. Because again, what we're doing for living, we are weaving, because Tuia means to weave, and we are basically weaving funders, communities, community leaders, all together, sport organizations, all together. But we used to have very, scattered systems. So some contacts were on Outlook, others on Excel, SharePoint, people's email boxes. It's relationships were held and still held. This is probably one of my pain points. The relationships are still held by individuals, not by the organization. Reporting was reactive. And this is, again, as a finance professional, for me, it was a nightmare, this reactive reporting. Succession planning did not exist. And, how we come to the idea, I mean, it's never been an idea for let's purchase a CRM, let's create a CRM. It's never been like that. It's been like my chief exec and we were sitting together and like, what are the biggest challenges we have? And our biggest challenges were culture. And this is something like I think any GM or CE has to attack immediately. So we had a culture of separation. So we had two divisions who were working with their contracts, and they did not talk to each other. So for us, this hub thing was another way to make the team work together and to share their contacts and stakeholders and relationships. So it was culture, and it was also relationship management. So like two absolutely paramount things. And we had to have a solution.
Yeah, we hear that all the time, that most of the times you notice that you have a problem when people go on leave or when you need to report. Because then you
resign.
Yeah. So you need to be running after the information, and it's all around the organization. Sometimes even it's not like a share folder. Sometimes it's in their own device, and that's something. Stu, okay, that's good luck, because I think everybody needs to identify a problem to go for a solution. It's not from the software to the problem. It's the problem to the software. But when you identify that you have a problem, how is the process to say we need this type of solution? Because there are so many solutions there. If you type like CRM, database, hub, let's say, you're going to find an enormous quantity of solutions, of softwares. How can you describe like your experience? Like how can you go from a decision like, okay, this is the best one for me?
Yeah, that's I had to start by saying the decision to begin this journey with CRM and with XP was taken back in around 2016, and so that was before I was engaged to help the trust. So I'm really repeating what I understand rather than what I experienced. Claire will have some perspectives on this because her involvement has been much longer than mine. But my version of the answer is that New Zealand's a small place, Wellington is a small place, word of mouth is everything. We have board directors, professional directors, some of them, and they're involved in multiple organisations. And I understand that one of the management team had some exposure and heard some good stories about successful outcomes that XP had created. And that led to Christy being invited to talk to the board, and some of the board members realised then that they also were involved in other organisations that already had a relationship with XP. And so I don't believe, Gus, there was ever an approach of going out with an RFI or doing a market scan or even a recognised need, much as Irina was just saying. I don't think there was ever a moment where the organisation looked at its belly button and said, you know what, we are missing a CRM. I don't think that moment ever happened. I think it was more money is tight. We have to live within our income. The nature of our business is one where our revenue streams are very finite and they don't stretch at all. And so efficiency is everything. And there was a new awareness that we could move from the style of administration that we were using, which still had modern elements of it, made significant use of spreadsheets, Excel, email. But just as Irina was saying, these things were not joined up in any intelligent way or controlled way. And you were exposing to a lot of key person risk. And another feature of our particular business, because it means looking after the prepaid funeral funds of many, many people, there is no room for errors or mistakes. We have got the compulsion to be error-free in the same way that many large corporates do, but we're small. And so it was that efficiency with reliability and new options for growth that attracted the board and XP to get together to produce what we're working on today.
It's really good to hear from you this perspective, because I can see that many organizations, they actually want to know about another organization with the same problem. And I think that's why we are having this type of webinar, just to share like common problems and how maybe you can solve those problems. Claire, do you want to expand a little bit on this? Like how people usually start on that journey to choose a software?
I think the main thing that people start on is that I think the main thing is like we need a feature in our CRM. We need to do this. What they haven't thought about is what is the outcome of that. So what I see in a lot of projects is we know we need to do this function, but we don't know what the outcome is. And that all comes all the way back down to the beginning on data. And like Irina was saying, is that you do have people that have got spreadsheets all over the place. They've got, we had a client active who had all of their contacts in multiple outlooks. So it's bringing everything into one sort of consolidated place. But then what do you do with that data? What do you do with it? How do you enhance your supporters' experience? Because what's the point of doing all these amazing features if you're still not giving a good user experience to your end user, which are your clients? So I think having clean data, making sure all your data is really clean when you are implementing a CRM, and really understanding what you want out of it. And again, with Irina talking about the reactive reporting, that should never be a thing when you're doing CRM. You should start with what do we need to report on, because a lot of our organizations have got funding models. They need to report back to government agencies. They have to report back to trusts. They have to report back to boards. Those are the reports that need to go in first. Do we have, and then the rest of the system is how do we get to that point? And when you start looking at the how do we get to that point, it's not just how do we get to that point, it's how do we then move people out of what they're currently doing to using the system and seeing the benefits of the system to them. So any CRM that's successful is because there's been really strong change management within the organization. That's a huge, huge thing. It doesn't actually matter whether you decide to use Outlook as your hub or you use CRM as your hub, but the adoption is what's important. Every project is about 95% adoption, 5% technology. The technology is pointless if you don't have that user adoption. So those are like my main key points when I'm starting up a CRM. Who's your change manager? What are your outcomes? What are your absolute required reports? And then we sort of go from there.
Yeah. So picking up a few lines in there, like when we think about getting better reporting, getting efficiency, then it comes a really hard part of the process, that is approving a project. Irina, can you give us an idea like how it was for you to approve a project like this? Like it's based on efficiency, a better reporting, many of those things.
Yeah.
How was it for you?
You know, I think I was very lucky. I honestly was very lucky that when I came to work to Tuia, it was Sport Waitākere then, I did not come like completely unprepared, because I used to work for an accounting practice, and Sport Waitākere was my favorite client, like absolutely favorite client. So when I got an invitation to join them as the GM business, I already knew all the pain points. And I kind of had a map in my head with all the solutions. So just my chief exec and I, we were sitting together, and he said, okay, you have a carte blanche. You basically have a carte blanche. You choose the system, you choose when, you choose how, you choose who you are going to with, and because you are the budget owner for the operations part, you know your numbers. So basically, you know your limits. And I think it's kind of once in a lifetime opportunity to do this, like completely unleashed. And I took several months. I gave myself several months to get my head around the market. So what's on the market? Because, you know, as a finance professional, I had some experience with Oracle, and I knew that I didn't want. I knew for sure that I wouldn't go with Oracle. My partner at that time, he was still working with SAP, SAP, and I knew that SAP is not for us, just, you know, scale-wise. And then I had experience with my previous employer with Microsoft Dynamics, and I was not impressed. I did not like it. I did not like working with the system. It was so, it looked so dated. It looked so 80s. And Microsoft was not even on the bottom of my list. Microsoft wasn't, I didn't even consider Microsoft. So I think all in all, I created my business case based on 4 or 5 alternative alternatives.
Quite wide.
Yes. And then I looked at my business case and thought to myself, okay, you have to think again, because we are running on Microsoft in the end of the day. And on SharePoint and Teams, it's a big part of our organization. So I started. So after I had my business case, I started to make some calls, including Sport New Zealand, because they're pretty good, you know, they're pretty good in consulting, and they told me like, yeah, just think again about Dynamics, because maybe things are not as gloom as you think. Talk to the guys from XP. Maybe they can give you some guidance. And I don't remember who I was talking to that time. Maybe it was you guys. I'm not sure. But I was explained that the reason I did not like working with Dynamics before is because the system I used has not been updated for years, and it was kind of money thing, and the organization I worked for, they refused to pay money for updates. So that's why the things like they turned into crumbles. And we actually can do better. If we start now, we will get much better product.
One thing that happened in the past is that a lot of the organizations were using Microsoft on-premise. Was a different model, was different structure. When they migrate to cloud, they made a lot of improvements on that. And the good part about Microsoft is that you can build by blocks. So you can choose what you want to do according to your budget. But yeah, the cloud, I don't think we have any organization work on-premise anymore. I think we migrated the last one the beginning of this year. So that's a big part for us.
And we have one more.
Oh, we have one more.
One more, and it's very 1980s.
Yeah. So when you choose the technology, then you get the approval, then we go for the implementation part. That I used to say that now it's the game time. You are training, and now you go for the game. So, Stu, what was like your takeaway from implementation? Like good things that happen and things that people need to be cautious. Like we have only 10 minutes now, so if you can keep brief.
Okay. Well, I think the good thing is dealing with a competent and well-experienced vendor, and of course the relationship. To me, CRM, just as Irina said, our team tends to call the system CRM. So it hasn't been renamed, Irina, in our world. It's still CRM, and that confused me greatly when I arrived because what it was doing was not CRM, and the implementation of it, because it had to absorb and carry on the pre-existing proposition, and it's a sales and ongoing relationship proposition where there's a linear relationship with each client that can last for many years. It is very hard to evolve that and to think of that in strategic terms, to understand the change that must be applied to enable the full benefit profile of the digital platforms to be realized. In other words, if you just digitize what you were doing before, you're not going to get a strategic step change at all. You might get some improvement in the way dots are joined, but it's not going to be the pole vault you were hoping for. And in our deployment, a big part of the business case was stepping into the 21st century. So a digital front end that clients could access themselves, see their own information, update records. So it was an end-to-end. It was more like an ERP than a CRM, given the early discussions.
Okay.
So that did require transformational thinking. And I think that was the biggest challenge we had in a small organization. We all know that transformation programs have got a terrible reputation for not delivering. And one of the golden keys is leadership and tenacity and vision. That's very hard to do when your organization is so small and there's no fat on the bone. You've only just got enough resource of exactly the right type to get the job done. And to really achieve what the promise is, it is about, on the business side, it's about that strategy, the vision, the leadership, and the tenacity of staying the course through the challenges that will inevitably come with any transformation program. And I think that's what we've found hardest, and what we're still working. Claire, I'm looking at Claire a lot because she's been on that journey with us. We are still struggling to realize that vision. There's no doubt we've achieved a lot, but have we accessed our entitlement? Not yet, but we're on the journey.
That's awesome. Awesome to hear. How about you, Irina? What was like lessons learned and
same. I think we are not I think I know that we are not still there. And even design wise, because I have kind of master plan how the whole thing should work, and we are midway at the moment. But like lessons learned is, if I had to do everything again, to find like change champions inside your teams, people who have deep interest in either in technology or in people management, or change management, or both. Like currently, again, I think I'm overusing this word, but I'm very lucky because currently I have two guys in my team, and they're even not in my team because one of them, so they have their own managers, but they're so much invested into this project. One of them is on like a geeky database side, the other one is on people side, and it's changed everything for me. So so try to find those champions, change champions, and lean on them. And it's, it will make life easier. And change will happen organically. So this is what we want. We want this change to happen organically, not to introduce it from the top to bottom, because people will always confront this idea of change if it's done this way.
The only certainty we have that things are going to change, right? So you need to have something that you can actually change.
Yeah.
Claire,
It's finding things that people can get excited about. So very often what we find with when we implement a new system is that you'll have the finance team and they trained, you do this, then you do that, then you do that, then you click this button, you go here, you go there, and then you're done. And they do that every single day. But when it comes to actually making their system work for them as an individual, creating their own views, creating their own dashboards, creating their own task lists and things like that, people don't know how to do that. So it's actually, I find training is great on how to use the system, but normally training is at that level. It's not at the how do you create dashboards, how do you create an advanced find, because so often it's your change managers that are so keen and they're excited, and what they're doing is they want to know how to do this stuff, and then they do cool stuff, and then everybody else is like, how did you do that? And it's given people the skills. So I'm all for, like, yes, let's train you on how to use the system, but actually let's show you how to make the system yours, because what we've generally built is for the organization, but you can customize and tweak it so that it's your one. How do you change, how do you do quick things? How do you do things faster? So for me, that's where I like to come in with the change management, is actually getting the non-change managers excited about it. So often I will bring one or two of those people in on the project and get the most resistant people in there and show them how the system doesn't just benefit the organization, how it benefits the individual.
Yeah, I think what we are all saying here, that user adoption, like bringing people into the CRM, because if users feels that is kind of like one more task for them during the day, it's a problem. If they feel that can help them, it's a totally different story, right? So that's amazing. Thanks.
But it's also having continuous conversations about what are you doing that annoys you? What are the things that you're doing that you do every single day and you can't get it to work? So now you have to do this 20-step process to get to where it is, because those are the things where you're like, oh, we've got the best technology. How do we utilize our technology to take those pain points away? So it's not just training at the beginning, it's constant monitoring. How are people using the system? Is somebody doing something better that the system wasn't designed to do, but it's made things better? Or what is slowing people down that we can improve?
Yeah. Like quick wins, right? Yeah. Like just to finish now, like now the benefits. So probably like if you go through this whole process, you really want to have some benefits after all this work. So probably will be better reporting, more efficient. But Stu, if you can start, like what is the clear benefit that you see by using, let's say, a system or CRM or software like this?
Yeah. The business capability that CRM allows us to achieve, it would be one way to think about this. So that it's CRM specifically is a happy outcome of the relationships that are held locally. The benefits are by changing the way our business works to achieve new levels of performance, new efficiencies, new connections without those steps in the middle. So that there's kind of, in listening to Claire and Irina and the account I gave, I think these are all separate problems, real problems at different layers in the cake. Without that strategic insight, that vision to allow you to change the way your organization works, now you've got this amazing capability. That's something that just won't happen through adoption. That requires a vision for the future. That thing that Irina said, she had a map of the way this was all going to work, and it was different to what was on the ground when she arrived. Similarly, if your people are crossing their arms and saying, I don't like this new tool, I won't use it, that's going to end the opportunity as well. All of those things have to coalesce and be there together. And I don't think we should understate the challenge. If it's simply making things work a little bit around the periphery, that's great. But if you're really going for it, you'll be changing the way the business works and delivering a more reliable, more compelling proposition in a more timely manner at a reduced price.
I like the reduced price. Nice. How about your view on this, Irina? What are the benefits, like clear benefits that you see by using the hub?
So I mean, I think we started to resolve some of our key problems. It's like about taking the whole team together. So as soon as people do not work on their separate spreadsheets and say they all use one single like source of truth, one database, and they can see from this database that they actually work with the same people, same organizations, but from different sides. One from the Health New Zealand side, the other one is from Sport New Zealand side. So they're basically doing the same same mahi, you know, but from the different perspective. So I think culturally it was it was very important.
Yeah, it saved a lot of people's time and also show a different image from the organization, because since everybody can be on the same page, they can actually be faster with the person or the organization or the program they are running.
Yeah, and it's I mean, yes, it's like a kind of day-to-day business as usual, but on top of that, you guys know that we are in the last stage of the project module development. So we already have our contracts model, which was proprietary system. We are creating a project model, which is also will be a proprietary system. We are moving to what was the name to replace Microsoft customer insights, to have customer insights module.
The outbound communication.
Yes, and probably, I mean, it all depends, but probably we will move to the financial module eventually, and because it all about scalability. You know, and yes, we're not for profit, but the world is changing so fast that we do not know. Maybe next year it will be just half of the team, and the following year it will be 4 times more. It's it's very so we live in very unpredictable world, and scalability is key for us to survive.
Yeah, I think it's also a way to expand with the same people that you have at the moment, right? And also it's a way to enable even new things, like everybody's talking about AI, but also in the CRM you can enable AI to find information easier, and it's a big help, especially for people who are engaging with different stakeholders and things like that.
And also, you know, reduce, recycle in the end of the day, but the same principle relies to data. So we collect data on our projects, but those data, they become quite a big, I wouldn't call it marketing, but this is an anthropological data pool, which is also useful for so many organizations on West.
Nice. We are coming to an end, so I really appreciate all the participation, but we have a few questions here in the chat. I think we are not going to be able to get all the questions, but we do have a question here. Let me just get this. Like, if you think about here, like to hear more about the work experience with Dynamic CRM, like working all together. So how does it work, the CRM with the financial operation? Like if you have any integrations probably with Business Central, or if you have Xero or any other platforms. Does anybody? Stu, can you go?
Yeah, we have Xero integrated into our CRM with financial transactions flowing in each direction daily, and that is also our gateway through to the New Zealand domestic payment system. So we're pretty much seamlessly integrated with the outside world of payments. Money flows in, money flows out. In terms of the workflow question, we make quite extensive use of status management within CRM for workflow management. That allows us to manage through different people, have the equivalent of second person signatory, 2 people involved, and of course you've got independence of location and time. So our work packets may start at a funeral home out at Nongataha, end up being processed by a certain person in Wellington who does proof checking and quality checking. That'll then be passed on to somebody else who then revalidates that work and approves it finally, entries are posted and transactions flow. So it gives us all of those capabilities are invested within our configuration of CRM. So it's a very powerful ecosystem of connected capabilities that come together to give us a whole of business solution.
Awesome. Yeah. Claire, can you expand a little bit about it? Because we have different sectors, right? We have support organizations, we have religious organization, international aid, we have different industries, but it's very common that we receive sometimes donations, especially if it is like child sponsorship or any activity like this, and that flows during a whole piece of technology to the finance systems. Can you explore just a little bit on this, Claire?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of organizations are using, I know we've got one or two that are using Business Central, but that's just because I don't touch on that side too much. So I'm not fully aware of all of those, but I've definitely been very involved in the Xero integrations and the flexibility of Xero integrations. We've actually got an organization that has, they're an umbrella corporation, so they sort of sit on the top, and then they've got multiple organizations that sit under. And people don't know who to donate to, so they just donate to whoever they know. And we've actually been able to pull payments out of one Xero, push it into another, make sure that the right money is going to the right business unit. And we are connected to four different Xeros in one CRM. So there is so much flexibility in terms of that. But what Stu's talking about as well is with the back and forth, money is always, or payments always been pushed through to Xero, but CRM is informed when those have been reconciled. So you kind of creating this collaborative environment, but you don't have to keep waiting for so-and-so from accounts to get back to let you know if this has been paid or reconciled. It's automatically in the system. So it just gives that real nice synchronicity and visualization from the different databases without the need for chasing. And I think that helps a lot with that financial piece.
Thank you. Thank you. So we are coming to an end of I want to keep in the time that we promised. So 40 minutes. It was an amazing webinar. Thanks a lot for all the speakers here, Irina, Stu, Claire. Huge thanks on this. We are going to send the recording later. We are going to send the questions. We weren't able to answer all the questions. But just to close, like in the final part, Claire, if you can give like 2 or 3 tips for people who are thinking about a CRM.
Okay. One tip, if you're thinking of a CRM, the main thing is that it's completely customizable. So a lot of our clients will have a team that data captures and another team that then works off that data. So CRM can then build 2 separate forms, one for the data capture, because a really cool function in CRM is you can enter data and tab to just go down. So the ability to be able to design your forms so that as you're data capturing, you put them in a certain order, but then have another form for readers, which can then read the data in the way that they use it within their function. My favorite thing, which I'm constantly telling people, is when you're on a record and you need to save, just Control S. You don't have to navigate to the top, because I learned that when CRM changed from on-prem, because they moved the save button from the bottom to the top. So Control S. And another thing that I find is when users are navigating between, so you'll be on like a contribution record looking at finance, and you want to go and look at the supporter, and then you click out, and then you've got to go back. Just hover over anything that looks like a hyperlink, and I've got to do it with my hand because I can't remember. You control and click your mouse, and it will actually open up that record on a separate tab, and then you can alt tab between the two. So you're not having to go into one record and then out a record, in a record, out a record. So those are my quick tips. So I'd say form design, definitely look at that, because the most important thing is just usability for your teams. And then just quick things like Control S to save, Control N to create a new record. There's lots of shortcuts and keys that I tend to give people that help day to day.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. That was the first XP webinar. I'm really proud of this. Thanks a lot for the participation. We are going to send information later, so let's keep the connection going and enjoy the lunchtime or the rest of this time. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. See you later.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.